Welcome back to News Talk. Former Miss Universe Alicia Machado is striking back against insults thrown at her from Donald Trump. Machado, who represented Venezuela in Trump's 1996 Miss Universe competition, said that the Republican presidential nominee called her Miss Housekeeping and Miss Piggy when she gained weight soon after winning the beauty pageant title. Amy Robach has more on this story.
She was once named the most beautiful woman in the world.
Miss Venezuela, you are the new Miss Universe.
Now, 20 years later, former Miss Universe Alicia Machado is back in the spotlight, this time finding herself right in the middle of this year's presidential election.
He called this woman Miss Piggy. Then he called her Miss Housekeeping because she was Latina. Donald, she has a name.
Where did you find
her
this?
name
Where
is
did you find
Alicia
this?
Machado.
Trump spoke out about Machado's claims on Fox News.
She was the worst we ever had. The worst, the absolute worst. And, she gained a massive amount of weight, and it was a real problem. We had a real problem. Not only that, her attitude, and we had a real problem with her.
Maybe he will be saying bad things about me, but it's okay. I'm strong.
Representing Venezuela, Machado won the crown in 1996, the same year Trump took over the pageant. When she started gaining weight, she says Trump publicly shamed her.
She weighed 118 pounds or 117 pounds, and she went up to 160 or 70. So this is somebody that likes to eat.
He tell me like Miss Piggy, Miss Housekeeping, Miss Eating Machine, all of that kind names.
Inside Edition obtained this video of Trump inviting the press to watch her work out. She was 19 years old.
Slowly go down towards your toes.
He used me, then make a publicity or trying to do a new show, with me in that moment.
Trump also telling Howard Stern about Machado's eating habits.
She was like an eating machine. I guess she ate a lot of everything.
I had a lot of problems, like eating disorders, anorexic, bulimic, that kind of problems.
Joining us now to discuss the deeper issues in this election cycle is Dr. Omekongo Dibinga, Director of Upstanders International, back with us today. Hi, Dr. Dibinga. Boy, a lot of people are talking about this one, aren't they?
Oh, my goodness, yes,
yeah.
yes.
How is Donald Trump now working to sort of take back some of those comments he made about the Miss Universe?
Well, I think, unfortunately, what we're seeing with Mr. Trump is that he's actually doubling down. This is his practice. If he doesn't come out and say that he's sorry, he shouldn't have said it, and acknowledge some of the issues with fat-shaming someone, he basically came on another station the day after the debate and basically said this was the problem and this is how I dealt with it, and this is why it's still part of the news cycle.
Yeah, he did it the day after the debate because Hillary brought it up at the debate, right?
Yes,
She's the one who said 20 years ago he said this, calling her Miss Piggy, and
yes.
I mean, women are not liking this at all.
Absolutely.
He really needs to court women too. That's a group he has some problems with.
Absolutely, and we see that there are going to be more stories that are going to come out about the situation, and he's actually talking about going after Hillary Clinton because of Bill Clinton's transgressions and how he felt she dealt with that. I think that's also a recipe for disaster with more women that he's trying to court.
Absolutely. So, when you talk about Hillary Clinton and being, carrying the banner for the Democratic Party this election year, the glass ceiling has been shattered when she was nominated. But is it really a level playing field when it comes to women in politics today?
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. You can just imagine some of the things that have been said about Hillary Clinton will never be said about a man. I've never heard anyone say, well, this man was overly prepared for a debate, for example. And you see people in prior interviews, well, she didn't smile enough. And so she came out smiling very hard this time, right? And so everything that she does gets criticized in ways that we just don't see with men. And we saw the same thing with Sarah Palin during the vice presidential debate years ago as well. It's just a different playing field.
So Hillary Clinton admittedly went off the campaign trail to study up for this debate.
Yes.
Then Donald Trump criticized her for being off the campaign trail to study for it.
Yes.
Do you think that if he were the one who came across as being more knowledgeable on Monday night, that anybody would be talking about this?
I'd be very honest. I believe that the bar was set so low for him that people pretty much said all he had to do was look presidential and that would be enough. So even if he didn't have a strong grasp of the issues, if he looked like he was competent, that would have just been enough. And that is completely different from what people expected from Hillary Clinton.
Well, you know, in addition to the whole, you know, was she smiling enough? Was she not smiling enough? Should she smile less? Should her smile doesn't look so good when she smiles. It's not authentic. In addition to that, did she also have to worry about coming across as a know-it-all? Here she had, you know, studied up and, you know, she wanted to be on top of all the issues, but does she have to hold back a little bit?
I think it's one of those catch-22 type things, because if she doesn't come off as prepared, they're going to say, look, we have the first woman up there and look what she does. She doesn't really know anything. So she has to be that extra polished person. She has to realize that she can't make a mistake on anything, because people are going to throw gender in there as part of the analysis on her where it's completely not necessary.
All right, let's move from sexism to racism, another big issue, and there were high hopes when President Obama came into the Oval Office 8 years ago that he would heal some of the racial wounds in this country. Many people would say that hasn't happened. Has he failed, do you think, as conciliator in chief?
I feel like we failed him. I do believe that he has made many efforts, many strides to bring people together, but I think that we were so quick to declare this country as being post-racial that we didn't want to hear any real conversations, because the argument from some was, well, we have a black president now. What are you complaining about? And I think we've shown by just some of the events that we're talking about now and in your previous segments that race is still an issue. And people, even one person said in Ohio, there was no racism until President Obama came into office. So I believe that we let him down, actually.
What do you think moving forward? Would racial tensions be better or worse under a Trump presidency or a Clinton presidency?
I think, sadly, there's going to be challenges with both. When you look at Trump, he was asked during the debate, what's your solution for issues of race relations? More law and order. That doesn't really have anything to do with conversations. I believe when you look at Hillary Clinton, when she says we need to have a dialogue, I believe that she's going to push the envelope and have more people be forced to have that discussion. When we're talking about law enforcement, when we're talking about education, a discussion many people still don't want to have. So that can also cause tension when people feel like they're being forced to have a conversation they don't want to engage in. But with Donald Trump, when he talks about law and order, that actually excuses a lot of people from not having to be engaged, because they just look at it as a problem with the police.
Let's talk about some of the candidates' comments that had some racial undertones. Hillary Clinton, 20 years ago, referred to young black men as heartless, let me get this right, super predators.
Yes.
She also said 20 years ago, we have to put this in context, right?
Yes.
That she told a radio host she always carries hot sauce with her.
Yes.
Was she pandering to the black community?
I think the hot sauce comment was definitely a little bit of pandering to the black community. And when we go to the other comment relating to super predators, I do believe that comments like that need to be put in context, because at that time we had President Clinton, Bill Clinton, pushing the crime bill, which had a great deal of support from the black community, including members of the Congressional Black Caucus. And as somebody who lived in the hood during that time, we have to be honest that there were people who were involved in predatory practices on members of our community. So I believe that she was talking about a certain segment that I felt like needed to be dealt with. I felt like the crime bill went too far as it relates to mass incarcerations and some of the other policies that came out of it. But generally speaking, the people she was saying we need to be dealt with, to a certain degree, did need to be dealt with. And she has recognized that she shouldn't have made that comment, something Donald Trump does not do.
Can we hold her accountable for what she said 20 years ago now?
I believe everyone should be held accountable for what they said, and I believe that at the end of the day, we should see that if they're working to make amends to make the situation better. Because if she still has policies that reflect that type of language now, we need to call her out. But she said, I did make that comment. Going forward, I want to work to reform the prison system, and I do recognize that my husband's policies were a mistake. Again, in the black community, apologies matter. In any community, apologies matter, and that's why people are willing to give her a second chance.
Let's talk about some of the comments of a racial nature that Donald Trump has made, and
sure,
his list is a little longer, I have to say, but most notably here, his fight with a Muslim Gold Star family. We remember that. He criticized a federal U.S. judge who is American, but he has Mexican heritage. He said he was a Mexican judge.
Yes.
The whole birther debate has racial undertones. Let's talk about what Donald Trump needs to do about his comments.
What Donald Trump needs to do is he really needs to recognize that some of his comments were misplaced. He cannot continue to double down and expect to make inroads with these communities, whether we're talking about women like earlier, whether they're talking about with Latinos, with African Americans. When you look at the birther comment, it is a fact that many African Americans view that as completely racist. His response, well, I'm the least racist person here. He brings up housing lawsuits. Well, I didn't have to apologize for anything. We settled. You can't keep doubling down. We're in a country that does believe in second chances, but you have to realize first that you made that mistake.
All right, a lot more to digest as this election date gets ever closer.
Yes, indeed.
Dr. Omekongo Dubinga, Director of Upstanders International, always a pleasure to talk with you.
Thanks
so much for coming in. And we'll have more news talk in just a minute.